A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was a planet inhabited by very unusual creatures with abnormally long necks. Their days were spent lounging about, their long necks piled up on one another like colorful party favors. Their nights were spent searching for food, their long necks working together to peer around corners and into places where no creature had looked before. Their world was a paradise until one day a giant spaceship crashed into it. Out stepped a being unlike any other, an alien who was so tall that when he stretched out his hand, it brushed against the clouds. And when he lowered his head, it scraped along the ground. He introduced himself as Lord Humongous and announced that he was here to take over their planet because according to his advanced technology, it was the perfect place to build a new theme park. The neck creatures did not want their homes destroyed, so they tried to negotiate with him. "Why don't we work together?" suggested one of the creatures. "You can build your theme park and we'll provide all the labor." Lord Humongous considered this. Okay, but first I need to test your strength. If you can lift this big rock, we can make a deal." He picked up a rock so massive it looked like a mountain range. Then to everyone's shock, he placed it atop the head of one of the neck creatures. "Alright," he said with a sinister grin, "big long neck test. Begin." And so the great test began. Our neck creature friend found himself at the top of a pyramid made of neck creatures. All around him, the crowd cheered and jeered, chanting, "Lift it, long neck, lift it, long neck." At first, he tried to stay calm. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, focused all his energy and strained every muscle in his body. But the rock was just too heavy. It felt like it weighed thousands and thousands of tons. He could barely move it an inch. When he failed to lift it, the crowd grew silent. Then Lord Humongous boomed, "Necks," and another neck creature was summoned to the base of the pyramid. This neck creature had bright purple stripes and wore a jaunty red hat. He also wore a tool belt with an assortment of screwdrivers, wrenches and pliers sticking out of it. "Ah, yes," said Lord Humongous, a worker. "Well, this should be interesting." This neck creature didn't hesitate. He walked right up to the rock, put his hands on it and pushed. And pushed and pushed. And with a mighty heave, he lifted it off the ground. The crowd went wild, showering the purple striped neck creature with flowers and confetti. "That was amazing," said Lord Humongous. "But now I need to see if you can carry it. Take this rock around the entire park, and if you can do it without dropping it, we have a deal." "Sure," said the purple striped neck creature. He put the rock on his head and started walking. But after only a few steps, he began to wobble. The rock was just too heavy and his neck wasn't strong enough. Slowly but surely, though, he made his way around the park, the crowd cheering him on every step of the way. They even formed a path of soft grass so he wouldn't get hurt if he fell. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the purple striped neck creature returned to Lord Humongous, the rock still perched precariously on his head. "Well done," said Lord Humongous. "I knew you could do it. Now let's make a deal." But suddenly, a booming voice echoed across the land. "Hold it right there, bulky muck blubberpants." Everyone gasped and turned around to see who was there. Coming down the hill was a large muscular creature with bulging biceps and a thick unibrow. On his chest was a golden badge that read Muscle Inspector. "Muscle Inspector," said Lord Humongous. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to make sure you aren't exploiting these poor creatures," said the Muscle Inspector. "If you are, I'll throw you in the slammer of shame." "Don't be ridiculous," said Lord Humongous. "We're best friends. We're gonna open a theme park together. Right? Long neck." The neck creature looked from Lord Humongous to the Muscle Inspector and back again. He really wanted to help his people, but he was also a little scared of getting thrown in some slammer of shame. So he hesitated. "Long neck, is he lying?" asked the Muscle Inspector. "Well, stammered the neck creature. "He's lying," said a small voice behind them. They all turned around to see a tiny creature wearing a trench coat and a fedora standing there. "Who are you?" asked the Muscle Inspector. "Why should I fear you? You're smaller than my pinky toe. You shouldn't underestimate the power of intellect over brute strength," said the tiny creature. "Besides, I'm here to help these guys. My name is Professor Small, and I'm an intergalactic representative of the Free Creatures Alliance." "The Free Creatures Alliance," said the Muscle Inspector. "Well, now I feel kind of silly." "No, you feel threatened by my intelligence," said Professor Small. Oh, I'm so very threatened, said the mussel inspector. It's just my big lug of a heart. Can't stand the sight of such cuteness. Hand over this guy, Professor Small, and I'll let you off easy. You won't be so bold, said Professor Small. Suddenly, he grew to the size of the mussel inspector. Ho, said the mussel inspector. So maybe I'll be a little more difficult. He grew to an even larger size. Oh dear, said Professor Small. It seems I must use my ultimate weapon. With a flick of his wrist, he sent a beam of light shooting toward the sky. Help me, he cried. Down in the distance, a gigantic spaceship appeared. It was shaped like a turtle shell, and was floating slowly toward the ground. Ayo, said the mussel inspector. I think I need a bigger spaceship. He kept growing and growing until he was as tall as the planet itself. Then he scooped up the entire planet and put it in his pocket. Now that's a big lug, said Professor Small. He shrunk back down to his regular size and strolled over to Lord Humongous. I believe it's time for your final test, he said. A test of courage, asked Lord Humongous. Well, yeah, you know, when you're building a theme park, it's important to be brave. To conquer your fears and face the things that scare you, but I'm scared of nothing, boasted Lord Humongous. Really, are you scared of heights? Asked Professor Small. Nope. He stood on the edge of a cliff and leaned way over. How about enclosed spaces? Nope, he crawled into a cave. How about creepy crawly things? A swarm of giant spiders dropped down from the ceiling and Lord Humongous screamed like a baby. Everyone watched as Lord Humongous ran away from the spiders. He tripped over a root and tumbled down the hill, all the way to the bottom of the canyon. He landed with a soft thud and looked around. In front of him was a narrow passageway between two large rocks. Oh, he said, this looks scary. Come on, said a small voice. Lord Humongous looked down and saw a little worm wiggling its body through the passage. I'm scared of tight spaces, whispered Lord Humongous. That's okay, said the worm, because I'm here to help you become brave. Now come on, let's go through the passage together. Lord Humongous hesitated, then took a deep breath and started moving forward. As he moved through the passage, he could feel his fear melting away. When he emerged on the other side, he was a brand new alien. He was no longer afraid of anything. Thank you, Wormy, he said. Now I'm truly brave. It was my pleasure, said the worm. I knew you could do it. Professor Small approached Lord Humongous and offered him a handshake. I believe you have passed the test, he said. Now let us discuss how we can help your people. Lord Humongous smiled. You know what, Professor Small? I think I'd rather live on a different planet where I can be a little less tall. He picked up the planet with his giant pincer fingers and placed it in his pocket. Then he floated away into space. The professor watched him go, then turned to the neck creatures. Well, that was easy, he said. From now on, this planet will be known as Planet Long Neck, and all the creatures cheered. They finally had a home where they could be truly appreciated. A place where they could lounge about and reach new heights.